Hello, Jessica Eurobix here, back with another review, and today I'm reviewing set number 79120. It is called the T-Rawket Sky Strike. It has 4 minifigures, 286 pieces, and it retails for $35 in the United States. I got mine from the LEGO store, and these are just starting to show up in stores across the United States. Now let's take a look at the packaging. So here's a box for the set, and it is one of those $30 box sizes, which is what we'd expect, but it is a $35 set, so keep that in mind. And you would see all over the box, there's kind of this cool skyline or like city on the background, and it displays the set. I guess okay, it's not one of the most appealing boxes. And on the back, there's just all the little play features, which is what we expect again. And then you do get 2 instruction booklets for the UFO and then for the T-Rawket. So there's one, and here is the second one. So now onto the minifigures. So here's the first minifigure. It is Donatello, and this version is exclusive to the set. So you can see he has some exclusive torso printing, but not exclusive leg printing, but his face has some exclusive goggle printing. So that's really nice. And then if you turn around to the back, you can see he just has one of the standard little turtle shell pieces. And then if you take that off, you can see some more exclusive printing on the back of his torso, which continues right there. And then also he does have this little staff, which is his weapon, which is kind of cool. Okay, so the next minifigure is Michelangelo. And he has some exclusive torso printing and facial printing and leg printing, unlike Donatello, who only had exclusive head and torso printing, because his leg printing, you can see right there, is exclusive, which is really cool. His little weapon are the nunchucks, which are kind of standard, the same ones you get in most of the sets that go with Michelangelo. And those are always fun to play with. And for his torso, you can see it's kind of like a zip-up jacket. Probably cool for skydivers, like even that aren't like turtles, because the only little remnants of a turtle is that little collar right there has a little bit of green on it. So you can essentially use it for many other minifigures. But his face printing is the first face that we got of Michelangelo Sirius. So that's pretty cool. And on the back, if you take off his turtle shell, you see his torso printing continues to the back, which is really nice. So that's it for this minifigure, and now on to the next. So the next minifigure is mutated Dr. ONeill. He doesn't even have like a creature name, it's just mutated Dr. ONeill, which is funny. And his legs are kind of in this nougat color, I believe it's called, with some fur on the bottom right there, with some nice fur printing, and some nice kind of nail printing or like toenail printing, which is cool. And then he does have some really cool kind of torso printing right there in that tannish color, with some green on it and some kind of nougat on the bottom with some fur. So that's really cool, kind of colorful. And he has the typical bat wings we get on some torsos, like Man Bat and the Man Bats from the Monster Fighters line. But his is in this kind of pink color or magenta color, which is kind of cool. And on the back, you can see he has some more torso printing and this really cool little headpiece or hairpiece, which kind of attaches from the top right there. And it's really kind of this hard rubber, which is cool. Very detailed. There's kind of like a vein right there or a vine. And the front, you can see there's these little ears with some pink on them, and it fits on basically any minifigure perfectly. And for a better look on his front facial printing, you can see right there, he only has front facial printing and no back facial printing, sadly. And if you put it on him like that, it fits on just perfectly. So overall, just a really cool minifigure. And the last minifigure is the Krang, and this is the same version we got last year. So you can see he has some nice torso and leg printing and some nice facial printing. And then he has some nice back torso printing and back facial printing. Of course, this came in a polybag and the shell razor set, so it's quite common. Okay, so here are the 3 vehicles of the set. There's the 2 main ones, which are this little Krang UFO, the T-Rawket itself, and then there's this little really kind of crappy glider. So we'll take a look at each one individually right now. Okay, so before we take a look at the T-Rawket, first I'll take a look at this little glider. What does this remind you guys of? Tell me, which LEGO set had a glider? From this here. Yes, this is basically the Nightwing glider. I mean, I can't believe they did this. It's literally the Nightwing glider, but with like kind of a little bit of different pieces, then some different colored pieces. And you can see right there, Michelangelo fits on there pretty well. And that's kind of what his purpose in this set is. It's to be on the glider. So it's really, really lame if you ask me. I guess it's just kind of a throw-in to rise up the piece count in an expensive way. But yeah, that's it. That's the glider. It's a lot like the Nightwing's glider, which I did not like from the Man Bat Attack set. And you could kind of fit it on the back of the T-Rawket. And onto the T-Rawket, you can see that there's actually some really kind of interesting parts of it, where the whole thing is really interesting, not in a good way. The front has this little hood right here, which is kind of like a red hood. You can see that right there. And then if you go to the side, there's actually some stickers. There's this one right here, and then there's this one right here. And then there's one on this kind of wing right here. Then if you turn it over, there's some more stickers right here, which are kind of identical to the other side, just, you know, flipped over. And there's one on the wing right here. And there's two on the tail, which says 2 1/4. And half of like an interstate sign or something like that. So yeah, these kind of add to the set to make it look like it's built out of scrap. But yeah, I'm not really digging the look of this vehicle. If you take out the glider, you can kind of see the room inside. There's barely any room, but there's some stickers. There's a control panel right here. And then there's a control panel right here. I mean, the control panel stickers are okay. They kind of look like they're old and wooden. And then you can see the one right here. But really, they're not too exciting to the set. And then once you get past that, there's really nothing I like about this vehicle besides those two parts. The back, there's this kind of engine right here, which uses an interesting Technic piece. But other than that, it's just kind of an engine with a flame coming out. And then there's a main play feature, is this little pizza part, where you put a pizza in there, and you click this, and it shoots out, but it doesn't even shoot that far. And it's like a downscaled version of the one from Shredder's Lair Rescue, which I just reviewed, and that one has that little shooting blade, which is much better than this. But yeah, other than that, it really is kind of a crappy vehicle. You can see the bottom. There's two little wheels right there. I'm not digging this. I'm sure it's faithful to how it appears in the TV show. But yeah, just because it's faithful to how it appears in the TV show doesn't necessarily mean it's good, at least in my eyes. But that's really how I think about this vehicle. But on to the next vehicle. So here is the main Krang spaceship, and now this has kind of a weird play feature. But the look of it is actually quite interesting. You got these little stands right here, which are kind of a different way to build stands with the little code piece and some Technic pins. Haven't really seen a build of a stand like that before. And there's a front. The side, there's two missiles, but I accidentally lost one because I shot it, and I can't find it right now. So just keep in mind there's a missile there. And then there's these two glow-in-the-dark little studs right there. And if you go to the back, there's not really any other detail you wouldn't find on the front. So it's basically the same. It's almost the same because there's not these little glow-in-the-dark studs and there's not the shooters. But yeah, it's not really too interesting on the bottom, but the play feature comes from the bottom, which we'll get to later. But for the top, you can see they use these kind of circular, I guess you could say 1/4 dome pieces, and those in this kind of gun silver color are quite rare, which is pretty cool. And then you get 4 of those. And then on the bottom of those, there's actually this magenta hexagon, which that piece, that plate, I don't believe has come in any other sets. Correct me if I'm wrong. And if you go on the top, there's this little seat to fit the Krang, so you can fit him in there quite well. And there's a little keyboard sticker. So you kind of see that right there, and then there's these two little glow-in-the-dark little studs. But there's no more room to fit anything else in there besides the Krang. And if you take the Krang out, you can see there's really nothing interesting in there. So you close that, and the play feature now is this little part on the bottom. If you get to it, there's this piece right here. So what you're supposed to do is kind of pull that flap down. Let me just fix it. You pull that flap down, and it drops these two little tube pieces, which really isn't too interesting if you ask me. I was expecting maybe an abduction feature, which is basically how they pulled that off in Alien Conquest, I believe, is you just put it over a minifigure, and it kind of got trapped in the middle of this part, which I thought worked just fine, and I thought that was actually a really cool feature. But this one, it's just really a dropship, so that's really kind of disappointing if you ask me. But other than that, I really kind of do like the look of this Krang UFO. So that's it for the review, and now it's fun verdict. Overall, this set is incredibly mediocre. Now, the 4 minifigures are probably the saving grace of this set, because Michelangelo looks fantastic. I mean, I really like his updated kind of torso and legs, and the best part is probably his face print, because it's exclusive to this set, It's an angry Michelangelo, which we have not gotten yet. And it doesn't, like his actual like head print doesn't have any goggles on or anything like that. And for Donatello, while his does have goggles, it is exclusive to the set with the goggles. And his torso and legs, well, his torso is really cool, but his legs are just a regular turtle legs that we get. Mutated Dr. ONeill is actually kind of an interesting minifigure. He's really weird. He has a really kind of cool exclusive head or hair piece, which I think does add to him. And the printing on the legs is really cool. I like that nugget color too. And his torso print is really weird in a cool way. So those three minifigures are really cool. But when you get to the Krang, it's just the same one that we got last year. That one came in a poly bag in the United States, which was actually really cheap to get. And then he also came with a Shellraiser set, which was $60. So if you're buying it for the minifigures, I mean, it is $35. If it was $30, I would say maybe it would be a little bit better. But when you look at the T-Rawket, I know it's based on the show, but it really, really kind of stinks. I don't like the show, or I don't not like the show. I just haven't watched it. I haven't gotten around to watching it. And I really should, because it does look like a good set. I mean, a good show. But when you look at the T-Rawket, it's just like, it looks like a hodgepodge of stuff. And that's what it's supposed to look like. But to me, since I don't watch the show and I'm not attached to the show, I can't really give it an excuse, because it's like, well, it just looks like a mess of stuff. It doesn't look visually appealing. I don't really like the play feature with the shooting pizza, because it was done much better in the Shredder's lair with the little shooting blade. And then when you look at the Krang UFO, it's not that bad, but it's not really the best. I was hoping for like an abduction feature, kind of like what they did with the Alien Conquest sets, where you can kind of put it on a minifigure. It'll kind of pick it up so they stay in that kind of under part. But all you get is kind of this bomb dropping feature, which isn't really that cool, but the actual design of it is pretty cool looking. So I guess that kind of weighs out. So there are some really cool pieces in here too. Like I do like some of the flat silver elements on the actual UFO, and there's some nice magenta pieces on the UFO too. But when you look at the actual T-Rawket, they do have those little bottom parts, which are kind of cool, the half cylinders. So I guess that's kind of cool. So overall, I do rate this set a C. It's a very, very low C. I was really about to rate this a D+, but I don't know. I guess the minifigures and that UFO kind of saved it. So that's really it for this review, and I will see you guys later. Bye.